want the fat tire.
Okay,
wheels.
All right, live. So I call the meeting to order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, October 27th. If you would at this time, please rise for our invocation followed by prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you with bowed heads today, asking for your guidance as we deliberate the business of the county. We ask for your hedge of protection over those who are serving as first responders, law enforcement officers, and our military members that are serving worldwide. And we ask for your continued blessings on this community as we continue to lean forward and do many good things. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. I guess first item on this agenda, we have a proposed change to the agenda.
Yes, sir. Can I address the commission, please?
Yes, sir.
Under new business, I guess it'd be letter K, discussion of ordinance revisions.
All right. Is there a in the form of a motion, you'd like to add that? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of agenda amendment? All right. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any? No public comments. Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. And on the consent, we have our October 7th work session minutes, our October 9th budget work session, our October 13th regular meeting minutes, acceptance of the September 2020 financials, and the approval of the revised Squirrel Bluff bylaws. Is there a motion on the consent?
So moved.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Ellington or Mr. Jones? Okay. Basically, all those in favor? It's unanimous. All right. Moving along on the old business. If you remember, we had a discussion last time of the proposed lease agreement with Promise Place. Jason, you have anything?
Yes, Chairman Allen, since this item was tabled at the previous meeting, we've had an extensive conversation with Vanessa Wilkins, the Executive Director of Promise Place, and I'll just read you some of the brief information that she sent. Promise Place provides comprehensive domestic violence services to Fayette, Spalding, Pike, and Upson counties. Promise Place offers emergency shelter, 24-hour crisis hotline, crisis intervention, safety planning, legal advocacy, weekly support groups, children's programs, emergency needs assistance, and community education. They serve over 3,000 victims of domestic violence and their children. In addition, Promise Place reaches over 7,000 students each year through our teen dating violence prevention program, taught in 9th grade health classes in middle schools. She went on to add in her communication with me, her written communication, that Promise Place relies predominantly on the community for donations and volunteers to continue to provide the much needed services for victims of domestic violence and their children. There was some question as to what the mission of this nonprofit group is. It is a 501c3, and they are asking that we do not increase their lease amount, which is in the amount of $100 per month. So with that, staff's fine recommending the approval at that rate. Now that we're comfortable in letting you know what services that they're providing.
Okay, you've heard Jason's recommendation. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement with Promise Place.
Is there a second?
I second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the current lease agreement with Promise Place. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Jessica?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Thank you guys for getting that information. Okay, next on the agenda is new business, and it's the discussion and consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding with the multi-jurisdictional narcotics task force. I get a lot of stuff, routinely get stuff from the folks at the task force, and they hit me with this the other day, and while I'm okay signing some things, I wasn't comfortable signing a new MOU without vetting this, so I got with Jason, and I think he actually reviewed it as well.
He did, Mr. Chairman, and I forwarded Heath's brief comments to the board via email, essentially, and I'll let Heath jump in if he needs to, but he's had experience with this MOU in the past when he was working as a prosecutor, and he has no issues with it as drafted, and I think also noted in his comments that it's identical to the MOUs that we've been engaging with them prior.
Okay.
And that he saw no reason to deny approval.
Okay. Heath, you have anything else you'd like to add, or?
That's pretty much it. I mean, it is one that's been, I would say over 20 years we've been using it. I actually sat on the board with the joint task force, and there was never an issue with it.
Okay. All right. So we need to get this done. Is there a motion on allowing me to sign this MOU?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Jessica?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. And I'll sign this and get it to you.
Actually, that's not the one. She didn't bring me the original, so
Okay.
we'll have to communicate with her tomorrow on the
Okay.
original.
Okay, next is the discussion on the appointment to the hospital authority. I know we have a vacancy coming up. Is there anything?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and I'll let our clerk jump in if she wants. One of the members is due to cycle off at the end of the year. We were alerted also by the hospital CEO, who have graciously provided us with the enabling
Yes.
legislation that created the hospital authority. As the board may remember, it's a you send 3 names forward to the hospital authority, and after that, after you go through that vetting process, they'll choose one of those 3. Staff had intended to treat it like we treat all other board appointments, go ahead and list it and accept applications. We discussed that with the hospital CEO, and it seems to meet the timeline, but we wanted to, if the board had other items that they wanted, as it relates to this appointment for staff to consider or to pursue, we just wanted to check with you. We realized this is an important appointment, and positions on the authority don't come up very often.
This is a 5-year appointment, right?
Yes.
It's a 5-year appointment, so. Okay, so really, at this point, it's just for us to start canvassing our constituents to see if we can generate some interest in applying for this.
I have posted it. It should be online and in the running in the newspaper.
Okay. Okay, any other questions about this? There's really no action to take on this. Okay, we'll move on. Discussion and possible appointment to the library board.
I'll let you take that.
So there's been a vacancy on the library board since June, the end of June. We've been advertising for it. We finally had one person to apply for it, Mr. Hammett. I spoke with Ms. Cynthia Kilby, at the hospital, and she spoke, I mean, not at the hospital, at the library, and she spoke with staff at the library, and they were okay accepting that applicant.
Okay. And this is to fill a vacancy that currently exists.
Yes.
All right. So you have the application. Is there a motion on this application?
So moved.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes. Do we vet these people? I mean, I'm not picking on this guy, okay?
Sure.
Okay, because I don't know the guy anyway, but do we look at their background or anything? Not their background, him being, want to be on the library board, but is there any, on any board, not just this board, okay, that we're not putting somebody on there that really is not in the best interest of the county to be on it? You understand where I'm going with it?
Yes, you're not saying anything in particular.
No.
This
No.
application, you're
No,
saying
I'm talking
all
about all
applications.
applications.
Well,
Yeah.
on certain, Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
on certain, boards, there are requirements for those positions. So just say like DFAC board, they have certain requirements. So if they have a vacancy, then before I would present it to you, most of the time I'll send it to them. They'll review the history of, their history or whatever to see if they meet those criteria. But I don't do a background check on board members. I don't have any of that information on them.
I mean, I guess it would, y'all jump on me too here, is we treat any board appointment like we would hiring an employee. What do we, I know for employees, we have a standard background check, correct?
That's correct.
And there are certain things. So if we did, Jason corrected, I mean, if we extend that to these things, then we need to probably pretty much put that in some sort of policy.
Right.
So to what extent do we want to vet them? Do you want to pay, I think there's a fee we probably pay for a background check, or GCIC, or, do we go to the extent of social media, financials? I mean, where do you
I
go?
don't want to go that far, but
I know, but I get what you're saying.
I don't, and I hate that this is the one we got, but we got more coming up, to a point later on, but are we getting somebody that escaped from California or something?
That's gonna bring some embarrassment to it.
That's right, that's right.
I understand what you're saying.
I mean, I hate that this guy, and he's probably the perfect guy.
It's got nothing for this.
That's right.
You're not questioning this application.
not
I don't want anybody
questioning this guy.
that's participating in this meeting
But-
to think that that's what you're doing. You're just talking about the process.
Right, the process.
I mean, is it at a minimum maybe a background check, like on our end? Is that what you're
I
kind of
don't
thinking?
know, maybe so. I mean, I hope, y'all didn't find out something about me that I didn't even know was about me when I ran,
Jason, what's your thoughts? I mean, what have you done in other communities? I mean, is it because they're so small?
Yeah, so my experience in other communities, our process mirrors that of other communities, especially for appointed boards. I've not been in a management capacity in another community where we were vetting appointees to that level.
So what you're pretty much saying is you leave it up to the board members and perhaps even staff to do our due diligence.
Mr. Chairman, if I may offer this, it's obviously a balancing act, and we're so grateful that Mr. Hammond has put forth an application for a vacancy that we've had for 4 or 5 months. And it's, I think, what is the same in Upson as it is across the nation is that people's willingness to dedicate their time to these boards seems to be less and less, and it's harder and harder to fill the spots. So, obviously we can implement any and all of that, but it's my understanding that we, for most of our boards, we don't even really have much of their personal information on file. Is that correct? Yeah.
And it may deter somebody from applying, not because they have something in their personal background that they don't want to see, but it's just more of a challenge to apply. They have more paperwork.
Well, I mean, it's really, it's just like applying for a job. You sign a thing saying, we look at your background, that's all it is. And most of the time, even over at the ranch, we run everybody through the sheriff's department. And, nothing comes back. Like, I assaulted my neighbor 10 times last week or something, we hire them. So, I don't know. I just think about the embarrassment part. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Sure.
I think Commissioner Jones brings up a very good point. From a legal standpoint, I think it would behoove the board to at least look into whether or not we can do background checks on these volunteers, if you will. For instance, I hate to pick the board or the library board, but if someone were convicted of some type of child molestation charge, and the board places this person on the library board, then we've got a liability issue there with children and whatnot coming in and out of the library. So I think it's definitely something we need to look into.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll make one more clarification. So for a lot of our, don't want to miss, we do background checks for volunteers at the rec department for all coaches and or assistant coaches and or volunteers, and we keep those updated. So we do have some precedent for that. Obviously, this is a completely different capacity. I guess up until now, we've not had the conversation to start. Do we need to start looking at other functions that we appoint to? But obviously, in the instance of the rec department, we basically beg people to participate, and we have the same problem there. But we do run their background checks there, so it's not without precedent. Those just are not board appointments. So.
You run GCIC, is that the type of thing?
We run them through the same exact process that an employee would be run through.
So, let's see. Okay, so to get this back to where we're at, I hear you. And it's probably something that we need to look at and discuss at our work session. Probably we can do some more homework, and if we get some good numbers. What are we looking at as far as? I'm sure there's a cost associated with it. There's the and I know we're going to hear this as we go out and solicit volunteers, and they say, okay, we finally got somebody to volunteer for this position. It's so hard to fill, and then we hit them and say, okay, now that you're going to volunteer to do this, we need to run a background check on you. But there is, like Keith has said, there is a liability issue. So why don't we put that part on our work session? If that's okay with y'all. Is there any other discussion regarding Mr. Hammett's application for the library board? I have a motion made seconded to approve. Is there any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Okay. And so before we go to comments, I'll go ahead and move on to the discussion of the ordinance. I'm not sure how we worded that, the ordinance revisions.
Let me read this little. As indicated in the minutes of our last meeting, Commissioner Ellington brought up we need to work on ordinance revisions. And so I request the staff to draft an ordinance or moratorium that will run in conjunction with what the city of Thomaston has proposed.
So would it be an ordinance, it would be a resolution
Right.
to implement a moratorium
Is it a
Or is it
resolution?
an ordinance that
Is it-
have a moratorium?
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think that would have to be an ordinance, but I'll certainly let Heath handle that.
I would agree with that. Ordinance.
Okay. So it would be pretty much an ordinance that would subsequently be replaced eventually. And so, I think we have a list of specifics.
And then we can, well, I think after we draft the ordinance, then we should list the things in the ordinance and not list them tonight.
Okay.
Is that correct, Heath?
So,
Commissioner Jones, that would be perfectly fine.
okay. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay.
Do I need to make a motion for the staff to move forward?
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion for the staff to move forward on my request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion made and seconded requesting staff to
Draft.
begin work on an ordinance to,
Run in conjunction with what the city of Thomaston is doing.
mirror what the city of Thomaston does to as much as possible.
Possible.
Doesn't have to be exactly like that, right?
Yeah, much as possible.
You got that, Jessica?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none? Ms.
Commissioner,
Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. I appreciate you guys taking that on and look forward to that. All right. No other items on the agenda under new business, just comments, so County Manager.
Mr. Chairman, you and I had a brief discussion about some update items. If it would please the chair, I could go. I would like to work from that list and then add a couple. Specifically, you had asked in that communication about the following. Number one was Andrews Chapel School. As the board is all aware, we did have that on our on our work plan. It was not an item that we resolved on our work plan. It's currently static. But to pick up where we left off about 18 months ago, we were in receipt of quotes to do a re-roof on the school. They were in the range of $25,000 if we kept it with the historic cedar shingle. If we were to pursue that again, obviously those quotes have since expired, we would have to redo that procurement process and bring it forward to y'all. That item had developed into what was going to be a larger relocation plan, which we ended up not pursuing. So as the chairman pointed out in his communication to me, it has needed a roof for a couple of years now. So that would be a rough estimate of what it would cost. So if that's where we want to go, just shore it up and then put it aside and call that project complete, that's what it would take.
Well, since we bought that up, this is another situation where we've got a county-owned building that's in need of a roof. And I mean, we had a lot of discussion about trying to find if there was a more appropriate location for this building. We really got nowhere with it. We've not had anybody come forward with maybe a more appropriate location. In the meantime, this thing's not getting any better. So I would hate to see this building continue to deteriorate.
And you said it's got quotes 18 months old?
It is, yeah.
Probably looking at about a 5% increase in cost roughly on a yearly basis.
Do we have any idea as to what our long-term plans are for this building? What are we gonna do?
You need it in Logtown?
Huh?
You need it in Logtown?
Not that I'm aware of. But, you know, I don't know I don't know how much money we want to spend on the building, we don't know what we're gonna do with it.
But because it's ours, we don't need to let it rot down either.
Well, if I might, I mean, so we're kind of in a situation here, where we got a building, is this building, on the register for national?
I don't believe it is.
Okay. And is, I know it being a historical thing here locally for Upson County, but it is a cedar shake roof really reasonable at a cost of $25,000 to replace. I mean, we don't have an open checkbook here. We can't just, wouldn't a metal roof, at some point, we could always go, if we decided we wanted to relocate it and restore it to its original condition, at that time we could. If we spend $25,000 on a roof, or 30 now, with wood prices and the cost increases, and then we decide we're gonna move it, you know, is that roof capable of being moved? I mean, there's a lot of questions that I don't know that any of us have an answer to, but I'm just saying, for a short-term fix, wouldn't it be more economical to put a metal roof on it?
I don't know, can we just, in order to stop the water intrusion, just maybe have somebody go out and look, see? I mean, does it require a total re-roof? Would a patch work? I mean, shy of a blue tarp. I mean, obviously we want to do the right thing, but substantial investment. And it brings up a good point. You know, how is this thing used? I mean, who's got the key? Who allows people in and out? You know, I know we're mowing the grass the best we can, but.
So, Mr. Chairman, to answer that question, the key resides at the archive. So if someone requests use of the facility, they don't manage it from a facilities management standpoint, but they manage the visitation of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The main thing is I just wanted to have this discussion to get it back on the forefront, because it needs to be fixed one way or another. The water intrusion issue needs to be fixed. The other issue, once that's solved, we can figure that out as we go. Anyway, I talked to Mr. McKinley about it, and I'll reach back out to him too. There may be some opportunity to participate with him in some fashion to help with some of the cost of this. I know at one time there was some discussion about that. So.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, I think the last part of the conversation is the board may remember there was a commitment by a third party to provide 50% of the funding if we went back with a historically correct solution. As I think all the board is aware of that, commitment fell through. And that's basically where we were left. And now on the relocation, we did pursue conversations with folks that own and maintain other sites, and we were not able to drum up a lot of interest in its relocation. We had even conceptually made the offer to, well, if we re-roof it and relocate it, would you accept it then? And we were not able to work anything out.
All right. So we'll just situational awareness. We've got this building, it's a roof issue, and we're working on it. So, all right.
The next item was the clearing of the sewer line easement. I'll be brief on that one. It's been delayed a couple times by the contractor, but I got a firm commitment from them today that they'll begin Monday, November 2nd.
Thank you for kickstarting that.
The third item was the removal of the disused water tank. The way staff's going to approach this is we are going to put a small scope of work together and try to solicit quotes for its removal without doing any engineering or environmental work, just so we can at least get a fair process for contractors to come out there and look at it and evaluate it for us, and then propose solutions for its removal. We think that it may require engineering up front, and then we might have to go out to bid with specific specs on how to remove it. There's some environmental concerns, there's some, and there's some other concerns about the tank. But we anticipate releasing that request for quotes on November 5th, and we'll just report back to you as to what we received, and if we need to do any more engineering due diligence on that. So we're not sure what we'll get back, but really what we're looking for the private sector to try to give us some guidance on how we can move forward with the demolition of that.
Where's the water tank at?
It's in the Sunnyside area. What's a better way to describe it?
It's the old Sunset water system.
Okay.
Yeah, it sits on about maybe a third of an acre.
Correct.
And a gentleman that owns the property next to it is interested in selling his property, and anyway, it's impeding his ability to market the land next to it because it's abandoned water tank is sitting there. So I appreciate it.
But it's been an opportunity for us. Obviously, it's not something that was on our radar. So him bringing that forward to us, we realize we have probably a bit of a liability issue, but we have a blight issue. So it's something we do need to address. So we're going to try to address it in the most cost-effective way, and hopefully that will work. If not, we'll come back with a different solution and recommendation.
Okay.
I'm going to skip around a little bit. Our pre-construction meeting for T-Splosh Phase 2 will take part this Thursday, October 29th at 10 a.m. We hope to have a release of a schedule a few days after that, so we can get a press release out and get our first round of the construction schedule. As we all know, that schedule may change due to weather and other things, but we look forward to presenting that to the community as a whole.
Well, while we're on that, I know that, and if I remember correctly, one of the things that we built into this contract, we were allowed in this contract, was if there was any pay-go projects that came up, as far as like if there was another road we wanted to add, as far as surface treatment, we were locked in. Mm-hmm. We had locked in the price. So, and we casually mentioned it the other day about if there are any other roads that are out there that we may be able to take care of. So I would just ask you all to go out and look in the districts, and I'll look as well, especially if you know the areas. And once we get the pre-construction meeting done and we get a schedule, that's why I was asking about schedule, and we kind of know where the equipment's going to be.
Yeah, they could easily get because we're working with set unit prices. So,
yeah, it'd be easy to do, and there is, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, some 16 T-Splosh money, or 16 Splosh money.
Right.
We do have some money out there, so if there's any, especially any surface treatment type roads that we need to get in and do some work on. Anyway, so I asked you to go out and look, and see if there's something.
And just as a refresher for the board, obviously the Phase 2 will exhaust our bond funding, and then we obviously anticipate several million in pay-as-you-go proceeds from T-Splosh, but they will be coming in monthly. So Phase 2 will exhaust our bond funding for T-Splosh, and then the difference will be made up with the 16 Splosh. But then as the T-Splosh comes in for the remainder of its 5 years, that will backfill that transportation funding for us. But that said, there is, and I don't have the number in front of me, there's multiple millions left on the 16 Splosh for road projects. So.
Yeah. It's nice to have because, well, we thought we were going to have to eat some bridge construction costs, but thankfully, we've dodged that. Hopefully, we've dodged that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I updated the board on that previously, so we are, that process is slow and ongoing, obviously, so that's in the due diligence phase. They just sent us, we're talking about Hannah's Mill Bridge on Hannah's Mill Road. They just sent us they're doing their historic due diligence on that area right now, so they're waiting for feedback. So that is in the hopper, and it looks like it will happen. While we're on transportation, I don't know if I think I may have done it by email, but just as a reminder, GDOT allocated us an additional $30,000 in supplemental LMEG funding to handle the approach to the Po Biddy Road Bridge. So, and that was led as part of the Phase 2 project, so we will get reimbursed for that small portion of that project. Thanks to our folks at GDOT, our district engineer especially, who helped us achieve that. And then the last item, Mr. Chairman, is items for the November work session. You all are in receipt of what's a rough draft of our service delivery strategy revision to our wastewater agreements. And so that will be topic A, B, and C for the work session. The other item I did have was to go back and discuss projects at the Bluff that have been brought forth, and if everyone was able to review the minutes of the last, and actually a lot of you attended the last few meetings of the advisory committee. They came with some projects that they recommended to y'all, so that was going to be the second item on the agenda, and then I added the discussion as we were speaking for the amendment to our policy for board appointments and doing additional due diligence there. So those are the three items that I have for the work session so far. If you have other items, and I know that service delivery discussion is probably going to dominate pretty much a lot of the day, because there's a lot of moving parts to that, as you've seen. But if there's any other small items that you want to add to the work session, just email me and we'll put them on there.
And the work session is scheduled for next Wednesday.
Correct.
We good? Next Wednesday?
November 4th.
November 4th?
At the airport.
Yeah. Good here.
I'll still be here. I think you'll still be here in January. Okay.
Did you want to propose it?
I mean, I won't be able to attend that. I have a doctor's appointment that day.
Okay.
And I'll know
Can't,
tomorrow.
it took me a year to get, so.
Yeah. So potentially you may not be.
depending on my meeting tomorrow.
Y'all trust in us, that's all I got. Give us the keys to the car, we're gonna drive it.
We could look at, I know Tuesday you have a morning call, but maybe later on Tuesday. Not later, but later, mid-morning, late morning start. All rooms should
I'm
Lunch.
I'm good anytime.
That's November 3rd.
well,
Oh,
it sounds like
That's the word.
November 4th, Wednesday the 4th.
Yeah, but
Right,
the fourth, he's not gonna be there.
Right, and then
He
he
might not be.
potentially won't be there.
He said Tuesday, maybe.
I was saying Tuesday may be a good alternative if we want to.
Election day.
It's just another day.
Exactly.
And
Well, we won't take
that afternoon, my wife is actually having surgery that afternoon
On
on the 4th.
the 4th. So it sounded like the 4th is probably not a good day for a workshop. I'm open to whatever you guys want to do as far as potential reschedule, except for.
I'm okay for the morning, but I'm just not okay for the afternoon.
I'm okay for the morning too.
All right, let me ask something else, time out right here. Our next meeting is not for 3 more weeks, so we need to move it.
10th.
No.
It's
10th.
Yeah,
Oh, it is
November 10th is our next regular meeting.
Okay, so it is 2 weeks. I was thinking it was 3.
I mean, are you want to propose a date?
Well, you said Tuesday, I mean, the 17th, I'm not, I could. 16th, 17th.
What about that first week? I mean, everybody's some answers. Is there any other time that week you
I can
might?
do it on the 10th, but it's gonna probably be about 10 o'clock.
What about the 5th?
First week in November.
Try and keep it on the first week.
Right now, it looks like I can possibly do the 5th.
Would that work for you?
That's the Thursday.
So Thursday the 5th?
Mondays or Tuesdays are better, but it could possibly work.
When you get into the next week, then I'm
Yeah.
gone.
I mean, I would say the second, third, or sixth would be ideal. I mean, like, tomorrow I'm gonna know more about the next week's schedule, of which week I'm gonna be out of town, which day I'm gonna be out of town.
So the 5th and the 6th is a possibility for everybody? 5th is a Friday, and the 6th is a Friday. I'm
I'm good with it.
I'm violating my no Friday rule.
If it counts
Jesse?
for anything, I won't be here on the 6th. I'm taking a vacation.
But I
All
could,
the more reason to do it on the
I could do double duty on the 6th if it was in the morning.
So it'll be,
Sounds
it'll
good.
be in the morning.
And I'm okay to start as early as y'all want to start. The earlier the better for me.
7 o'clock.
Yeah. I could absolutely do 7.
The man gets up and goes and runs. All right, so why don't I just leave it to y'all? Everybody, it sounds like the 6th, but if everybody wants to go back and verify their schedule, and Jessica, if you just confirm that with everyone, and we'll just go to the morning of the 6th. We're gonna miss you. But where are you going on vacation? Can I go with you?
Georgia, Florida game.
I say we go.
You guys, are you on leave?
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll try to make that happen. Yep. You got anything else?
I'm gonna email y'all some information about Thursday this week. It's not necessarily for public consumption, but related to the effort on the recruitment of a new recreation director.
Okay.
If y'all have some time and want to stop by, we'll have a slot at 10 and a slot at 1 at the Civic Center. And you can really come by it. There'll be 2 different people. I don't want to share any more than that.
This week?
Yes, this Thursday. Or if y'all just want to.
This one?
Uh-huh.
I can't see.
Okay.
But I'll send you just a little, just to say hi and kick the tires.
Okay. Any comments about courthouse construction efforts?
We had a great kickoff meeting today. The vice chairman sat in with me, so I appreciate his time today. We got a lot of good feedback. We did have one of the Superior Court judges represent the circuit here today. They were grateful that we worked around the schedule that they had already created. Established a chain of communication. Realized where our communication was short and added a few people that were left out of the original discussion, added them to the future chain of communication, which we accidentally did not include juvenile court to the invite, but we were able to get our consultants to go over there and meet with them. But it was a pretty good meeting overall. I'll let the vice chairman speak to it as well, but lots of promises to cooperate. The construction folks talked pretty specifically about what types of noises people would hear, what types of inconveniences there might be. It didn't sound like anything arduous, and there was a definite commitment to work together that if something had to be changed at the last minute, that every effort would be made. So I think it was a good meeting overall.
What's the flow on that? I mean, who are they going? We're just not going to have somebody walk up on the courthouse square and tell somebody to stop work. I mean, who are they going to? Who is that? Who's going to be that focal point? Is it?
So we established for emergency communication. We established a trio. So the clerk of the court, the sheriff, and myself. So whoever you can get in touch with, if you have an emergency situation to call one of us, we've got the contact information for the foreman. But all other communication comes through the board office.
But as far as stop work,
No, the only Only I can authorize the stop work, yeah.
And there's no one else can stop them from
Correct. Yeah, we're just want to make sure that, because we know we have a lot of different types of activities, a lot of different calendars, and we're dealing with constituents there that are anywhere from children in juvenile court to violent offenders and everywhere in between. So, but we've got a really good plan, and I think everyone walked away with the sense of we're absolutely going to get it done. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway was, I mean, it's a roofing project, so you're kind of subject to the weather. And the contractor is, I mean, he is flexible, that at, you know, a given time, a day's notice, he can bend and shape, he can stop work. If there's, you know, something that comes up that the court has to meet and they've got to stop, they can, you know, change their schedule and fly. So I think that was something good to hear from the contractor.
But that all is getting conflicted through Jason and the contractor.
Yeah, that's right.
No one else. Because you know how it is, everybody's in charge.
Everybody's in charge. They want you.
Well, we established that today. The one thing I would add is that when Judge Ballard was here, as we were adjourning the meeting, he wanted me to communicate to the board his sincere thanks from him and the other judges in the circuit to you for addressing the issue. They are most excited to make it dry, and they're I would say giddy with excitement to to keep the rain from falling inside the building. So they wanted me specifically to express, or he wanted me to express to the board his sincere thanks for your moving on this project, taking it seriously and doing it correctly, and they really appreciate that you are going to put it back historically correct and dry.
And no gold.
And
antique white.
I think there was
a lot of praises for not
putting the gold back on.
Can I ask Jason, since we're talking about courthouse, got two things, okay? Is that scaffold that's put up in front of the courthouse that goes all the way up, is it securely locked to keep people from?
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing is, and this is a biggie, guys, have we thought about the rehabilitation of the inside after we get the roof fixed?
No.
There's a whole bunch of other things too. Jason and I had kind of talked about some of it. You know, so once the roof is up, and you got the rehab of the inside, and you also have, you know, there's some stuff that needs to be done on the exterior of the building.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as cleaning and some preservation out there. So it might be we just go ahead and start thinking about scope of work, how to pay for that.
And identifying funding sources, because there currently aren't any.
I think it'd be good to have a list of some of the most immediate, you know, what are the interior spaces.
Like plaster.
Yeah, exactly. Because now that you have a dry roof, you can get inside and fix those issues. And then have some, like, you know, Chairman, you were saying, some of the exterior pressure washing. If we had a good list of some of those items, then we can comb through them and see what we can pick off as next steps.
Be a good project for our facilities team to start identifying our needs and coming up with priorities.
And I just in case the people are tuning in, and I had asked everyone that participated in the construction meeting to be the advocates for us in getting this out, and the request was for us to do a press release on it, and we agreed we would do that as well. But the thing I would like to conclude with that project is that there will be a temptation of some to collect souvenirs from the bin, and we are imploring with people that what is in that bin is environmentally hazardous, and it's one of the main reasons the board decided not to do a rehab versus a reconstruction. So we realize that it might be tempting for citizens to do dumpster diving to get a piece of the old cupola, but keep in mind that among other things, there's lead paint all over the construction debris. So
Probably need to put some sign. Well, it's one of those
There'll
things.
be
Put
sign.
signage
There will
up there.
be.
It's like
And we actually
Tell the
talked about
sailor not to go somewhere, and where the sailor's gonna go.
Yeah.
We put a sign up here and say, no dumpster diving.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A couple of things we did change, now the dumpster is gonna be inside the fencing.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
contractor is gonna put some signage about lead paint.
Okay. I'd also asked Jason to see about getting a few hard hats. I mean, for us, if we're curious, we want to go up there, you probably need a hard hat, be a hard hat zone. Get a couple of those and put them.
Yeah, and
Your
all
office,
of you,
my office.
all of you will have the foreman's contact, so if at any time, all you have to do is contact, you don't even need me, contact them directly. Tell them who you are and tell them you want to do a site visit. Or if you want me to arrange it for you, I will.
We just can't show up.
I can if you want to get to, but.
Maybe we can color code the hard hats so that they.
Yeah. Get you the gold one.
You got some of that gold that matches the roof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take that gold leaf off and make a hard hat out of it.
Is there anything else, Jason?
No, that concludes my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Heath, you have anything for us tonight, sir?
I do not, Mr. Chairman, just wish you all a good evening.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Jessica, you have anything for us? Mr. Jones?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple things. First one is, appreciate everybody watching, appreciate this board, appreciate our county manager, appreciate the clerk too. Next Tuesday is voting day. We got 3 men on this commission that are up for re-election. I would appreciate y'all voting and voting for these 3 men. And let's keep this county moving forward. That's it.
No comments?
I'm with Mr. Jones. I am up for re-election. I would love to have their vote come next Tuesday if they hadn't already voted for me. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
I guess first, to follow suit with everybody, I am on the ballot in District 2. I would appreciate your vote. I hope I do a good job for the citizens of District 2. Secondly, like I said in the last meeting, and you'll hear me repeat it time after time, we took a small step tonight to change some of our ordinances. I'm gonna keep the pressure on that, on staff and on this board to, things are going really good in Thompson and Upson County right now. But in order to keep it moving in that direction, we got some ordinances that need to be updated, and we really need to look at it. Because all growth is not good growth. Managed growth can keep us a beautiful town like we are. And we got a few things we need to clean up, and the way we do that is through ordinances. That is our tool to do some of the tasks that we want to do. That's really the only way we can do it. So I just challenge this board and staff to let's stay focused. Out of the many, many things we got to do and we're responsible for, is to just, if you have some time, look at some orders. Just choose one and look at it and say, hey, does this need to be changed? And a lot of those ordinances they're easy. They're things we face on a regular basis. So I would say let's start there and move forward. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Like I normally do with you, is I'll jump on the bandwagon. I'll also say, as we're going into our planning sessions for and approving next year's budget, there may be, a lot of times you got to put your money where your mouth is, and that's one thing I really like about this board, this community. We tend to do that. So, our staff is only so big. We know they walk on water, but they may need some help. So I appreciate everybody keeping that in mind as we go forward on this. With that, I don't really have anything else to say. When it comes to voting, I will just say, go vote, exercise your right. A lot of good people have paid their last full measure to make sure that we have the right to do that. So let's exercise that right. I'm not going to say I don't care how you vote. I do, but it's more important to me that you do go vote. I think everybody in this room has. And I appreciate the staff, because I know once we got through the first couple of days, and Jessica, you can speak to that, but it's gotten smoother.
Much better.
I've heard a lot of good comments, so
I have to.
let's get through this. And if you have a chance, I challenge you to please look at Jason's notes on the wastewater agreement and come ready, because we really need to get moving on this. So, with that, I don't have anything else. Any other things? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. We're still live.